Hello there, people. Tonight I want to read to you from a book called Invisible Light, or The Electric Theory of Creation by George W. Warder, or Geo Warder as he's sometimes called, or George Woodward Warder. Many of you have been interested in the electric universe theory. I've got a lot of books, old books on this, and this is one of them. This guy was kind of like a Walter Russell before Walter Russell. So he was saying the same thing as Walter Russell, but before him. And he was a poet, and he was a part of the theatre, and theorized on the electric theory of the universe. Very interesting man, and very interesting thought, a very beautiful thinking man. He's got a beautiful spirit, and I enjoy his books. I've got all his books. Right, I'm going to read this chapter for you all. It's 2 seconds. Alright. Chapter 5. What is electricity? And what are its uses in nature? The question is often asked, what is electricity? Science has never been able to define it. With all its erudition, it declares it is an invisible substance known only by its effects. Its properties are declared to be of such an extremely unusual kind as to appear almost magical. It is the most powerful substance known in nature. It permeates all matter and all space, and is interchangeable into light, heat, and force. It is subtle and invisible like spirit. It is potential and mysterious like deity. It is instantaneous like thought. It is incomprehensible like infinity. It seems a conscious entity like the soul. So wonderful are its offices and powers. It must be akin to spirit, for it links spirit to matter, dust to deity, life to inanimate substance. Man by its use is mastering nature as God masters it, and learning the lessons of a new creation by utilizing its wonderful properties for his comfort and happiness. He has harnessed it to the motors of commerce, made it weld and forge obdurate metals and separate them from the dross that surrounds them, convey living thought under the ocean and across continents, and shape and mold 1,000 useful articles of trade and commerce. He has made it listen and catch words and sounds, and hold them forever, and sing and talk like the human voice. It can weave garments and sew shoes like an expert. It can handle laces and silks and jewelry like the deft fingers of a woman. It can light cities and keep time, and warm houses, and cure the sick, digest food, and restore health. It gives life to seed, growth to trees, bloom to flowers, fruit to vines, harvest to summer, seasons to the earth, and light and heat to the universe. It paints more perfectly than any artist, It molds earth and suns, fruit and spheres, grass, leaves and flowers more beautifully than the most skillful sculptor. It colours the glittering rainbow. It throws the golden glories of auroral splendour over the rising sun, and weaves the gorgeous grandeur of its setting rays. It kisses the northern midnight into the crimson blushes of the aurora borealis. It whispers in the evening breeze, and caresses with a gentle zephyr every nodding flower. It gathers the floating clouds, and shakes them in refreshing showers upon the parching earth. It draws them from their ocean beds into the humid air, and lashes old ocean with its surging tides. It is the tempest's rush, the torrent's roar, the cyclone's sweep that hurls a mountain from its base, or lifts an infant gently as its mother's arms. It is the lightning's flash, the thunder's voice, the earthquake's shock, and speaks the language of omnipotence and life. And when man's body dies, it resolves it back into the chemical elemental parts, and makes it float in air, and bloom in shrub and tree and flower, and live in other living bodies, through all the endless cycles of its changing, varying curriculum of existence, preserving the immortality of atoms. The mighty electric force carries worlds, and lifts suns, and scatters planets through the void of space. It vibrates the etheric atoms, defies the law of selection and affinity, solidifies matter, holds all things together in their allotted place, and creates and proclaims the law of cohesion and attraction. Not the law of gravitation, but the attraction and power of electricity and magnetism, which draws the needle to the pole, and draws all atoms and worlds to their electric magnetic centre. The revolving earth generates electricity by means of its swift motion, and the friction of the ether, and the weight of 40 miles of atmosphere with its pressure of 14 pounds to the square inch. The electric currents of the earth balance the clouds, produce the movement of the wind, the zephyrs and the storms, sifts the snow and the rain, causes the ebb and flow of the tides in connection with the attraction of the moon, and produces the ever-changing phenomena of nature, so that the universe is a vast, wondrous, complex, electromagnetic machine, running by the laws impressed upon it, and by the original creative force exerted and perfectly balanced in all its parts. Its movements and phenomena through the cycles of the past seem so regular and harmonious as to the almost automatic, so that the Creator might go into a far country, into another universe, and it would run on in perfect harmony with God's will and law. Such are the marvellous works of omnipotent wisdom, and wonderful power, and forces of electricity, and the varied and unvarying forms and functions of infinitesimal and aggregate atoms. He who believes in special providence has a consoling faith, but he who sows what he may reap, trusting to the God of the harvest, has the practical wisdom of the ancients who proclaimed, Jove helps those who help themselves. The world and all planets and stellar systems are vast dynamos of electric generation, and are controlled by electric magnetic force, while the dynamic suns of the universe pour forth their exhaustless streams of electric currents to feed with light and heat and force the countless constellations of the blazing heavens. And even man and all animals in their physical organisms are electric machines of wonderful construction. The earth is a vast electric machine, and like the revolving cylinder of a dynamo, it whirls and threshes the resisting air, creating the friction produced by its positive and negative poles into powerful currents of electricity. that causes it to revolve on its axis at the rate of 1,000 miles an hour, and by the electromagnetic attraction of the sun to shoot through space 1,000,000 miles a day. The sun and earth generates the electrical power that revolves it on its axis and that whirls it round its orbit. Why do I say this? Because there is no other power in the physical universe that can work these miracles. Man has invented an electric machine or dynamo, which is the epitome and counterpart of Earth. With its swift revolving armature, its positive and negative poles, it creates the friction that draws the electrical element from the atmosphere, just as the planet on which man stands draws it by its quick revolving motion from etheric space. While man transmits it to connecting wires to bear the messages or propel the wheels of commerce, Earth stores it in its atmospheric cushion and compresses it through all earthly substances. We have seen from high authority that gravitation, heat, light, magnetism may be converted into each other. We take but a single step forward in scientific thought in affirming that they are the modifications of one sovereign force having a duality of expression which we designate as attraction and repulsion. Light, heat, electricity, magnetism, and gravitation, when fully understood, will alike give us the backward and forward motion of attraction and repulsion, while each will reveal a constant right-angled cross-section of forces which give circular paths to the planets and spherical form to all worlds and all molecular atoms and seed germ forms of all worlds. I say all worlds because these forces have but one method in our earth, and suns and stars tell the same story of electric light and force that is told between our planet and the sun. And the chapter continues, but I will leave it there because I think he said enough. And although I don't agree with him on like the planet, Earth is not a planet, and Earth doesn't revolve, and Earth doesn't go around the sun, Earth doesn't move. But I agree with him that electricity is a divine force used by the Creator on this Earth, and it's not in orthodox science, it's not given its beautiful place in their books and in their science. It's highly underrated, highly under respected. It needs its proper place. Alright, take care people. Hope you enjoyed that little reading, and I hope you all look into electricity. Read the old books on the electric universe. Of course, a lot of these old books will talk about the Earth being a sphere and it moving, revolving around the Earth, and it will talk about gravity, but you've got to just reject that part and just read the good parts. Electricity is in everything, like he said in here. It's in the seed. It helps the seed turn into the flower, the fetus into man. It's part of the volcanoes, part of the atmosphere, part of the tides. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And it's part of our bodies. I think he says in this book also that we're in the epoch of electricity. This is the age of electricity. Just as there's an Iron Age, a Stone Age, Gold Age, we are in the age of electricity. So let us study its mystery. Let us study its beauty. Let's study its purpose, its reason for being. Let's study it in the universe. Let's study it in ourselves. Let's study it in the plant world and the animal kingdom. Study the eel, the electric eel. Study the bees and how electricity plays a part in their makeup in biology. The spider. How electricity plays a role in its biology. Man. How electricity plays a role in our bodily functions, and how our body works, how our body heals. Let's study electrical healing, how we need electricity. Let's study the ancients, the ancient Chinese who go on about their qi or qi, which is very similar to electricity in the nerves. Let's study Franz Mesmer, the hypnotist, the animal magnetism, and energy healing, how it relates to electricity. Still a lot to discover. Still a lot of magic in this beautiful earth. Enjoy discovering it. Enjoy researching it. Enjoy thinking about it. Enjoy its gift to humanity. Enjoy how it works, how it functions, within and without. Alright, take care, people. Have a lovely night.